My grandparents were part of the stolen generation, and they never thought they'd get an apology. 10 years ago, the Prime Minister at the time, Kevin Rudd, was meant to be making an apology in Canberra, and 26-year-old me didn't bother to go. Because I had suspicions that the apology wasn't going to happen. I mean, historically, whenever someone that looked like Rudd asked Aboriginal people to gather in one place, it's a trap! It was generally to shoot them. Then it happened.
To the stolen generations, I say the following. As Prime Minister of Australia, I am sorry. On behalf of the Government of Australia, I am sorry. On behalf of the Parliament of Australia, I am sorry.
Some members of Parliament actually boycotted the speech. Indigenous Affairs Minister Jenny Macklin advised against the apology because she was worried something could go wrong. People were worried that lawsuits from members of the stolen generation were going to follow the apology. These kids were taken away so they could grow up and be whiter. And what's whiter than lawyering up and suing for damages? The apology was just one of 54 recommendations from the Bringing Them Home report, which covered the removal of children between 1910 and 1970. We said sorry, what more do you want? Maybe some of the other 53 recommendations? And hang on, Rudd said sorry on behalf of the government and past administrations. You didn't say shit, fake person I just made up but is based on past experiences. Saying sorry isn't an admission of guilt, it's to convey sorrow or empathy. It's also not a ripcord you can just pull on to eject yourself from an awkward conversation. Massive gestures do not cancel out shitty political policies. Paul Keating's Redfern speech was a huge statement at the time, but it didn't stop Redfern turning into a gentrified suburb with artisanal food markets and hipster bars, slackline acrobats and taxidermy. Like, I can't complain about the Northern Territory intervention, which cost millions and achieved nothing because Kathy Freeman lit the Olympic cauldron? Fuck off, of course I can. We have the most Indigenous members of Parliament ever, but also the highest level of kids in state care.
More representation than ever on commercial television, which isn't that impressive because that number gets halved when someone decides they want to leave the jungle.
We have more Indigenous leaders than ever because literally anyone put on camera ends up being called an Indigenous leader. Get that off. New Zealand is a country that leaves us in the dust when it comes to race relations, rugby, and the treatment of female prime ministers. I mean, shit, half of their national anthem is sung in Te Reo, a Maori language. Now, we are way off that ever happening. Acknowledgements of country are well-meaning, but most of them sound like hostages reading a ransom note at gunpoint. How about we follow New Zealand's lead and start every news program and public event with a simple greeting like the Maori kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
And don't say g'day.
G'day. G'day.
G'day. G'day. G'day.
It's too casual and New Zealand uses it too. If only there was a culture that was unique to this continent and used words to communicate. Well, guess we'll never figure that one out. Kaya.